Hey everybody, it's Bud again with Bud's Hot Sports Takes. Gonna be giving you key players to target in your 12-man drafts or best ball drafts. Gonna give you two options for every starting spot, and why these are gonna be your smart targets. For quarterback, Matthew Stafford. Well, let's face it, last year over 5,000 yards, and not some fluke, as it's the third time he has done it. He had over 50 touchdown passes with only what was, I believe, 8 interceptions. Then the defense goes out and gets Defensive Player of the Year Myles Garrett, and talks from Aaron Donald about coming out of retirement to team with him, even if it takes 5 weeks into the season for Aaron Donald to be an actual football season fit. With his talent, not fully in shape, Aaron Donald is still better than most of your defensive line guys, and those two teamed together would be the most explosive D line in the league, which should cause more drives to end quickly by sacks and mistakes, which gives the offense more opportunities, which means you can expect to see maybe more yards, maybe more touchdowns. So should expect maybe another season like what he just had, which would be great. Another option for quarterback, Geno Smith. And yes, I know, I can already hear the boos. But let me explain the target before you hit the exit button. Geno showed with a good line he has the ability to be in the top 10 quarterbacks in the league. And we saw when he was with the Seahawks, we also saw a terrible year with Geno for the Raiders last year. But that wasn't entirely his fault. That had a lot to do with play calling by coaches and one of the worst O lines in the NFL. Jets don't have the greatest O line, but I would rank it middle of the field, which is certainly a step up from the Raiders O line. Then Jets did a really good job on paper drafting this year. First round, they picked up projected best defensive end in the draft, the projected best receiving tight end in the draft, and one of the highest touted wide receivers in the draft, all in the first round. And then they followed it up by a game-changing corner and a pretty highly touted defensive tackle as their next two picks, reshaping their offense and defense. Now, do I expect the Jets to be in playoff hunt this year? No. But given where they were last year, 3-14, and I expect with these changes to go out about 6-11, doubling their wins after a draft. Doubling their wins after a draft is a win in my book. So you already had Garrett Wilson. Now you got two more highly touted rookies come into play alongside Wilson in the receiving game with one of the most accurate QBs in the league. Says if you're struggling to get a QB and start seeing them fly off the table, take a breath, roll your dice here. You got all kinds of upside. Running back, or RB1, Omarion Hampton. Once you saw him touch the ball for the first time in the NFL last year, you could just tell he was explosive and should have been the starter. After a year of playing under his belt and his explosive playmaking ability, expect him to be the clear running back one for the Chargers this year and see a lot of opportunities. Also, your shot for running back one, Jeremiah Love. And if you remember what I said talking about the Raiders O-line, we would get back to that later. Well, later, it's now. He has all the same hype coming in that Ashton Jeanty had last year, and is a good comparison with his size, speed, and ability to make comparisons with Derek the King Henry. And I expect because of this to see defenses try to do the exact same thing to Love as they tried to do to Jeanty last year, and that is stack the box and blitz all game long. And this is where I said earlier Geno wasn't to blame. It was the coaching and play calling and O-line. The Cardinals have definitely a better O-line than the Raiders and have been working well with James Conner, who has moved on from the Cardinals and who I argue a very underrated running back. He hasn't blown out the league, but he has kept consistent, dependable stats throughout his career. Also, like the Raiders, they have a phenomenal tight end with McBride. And when blitzing all game long, they should have been doing short passes over the middle to Bowers, the tight end forcing them to stop blitzing, and then feed the rock to Genty. But they couldn't do it, or chose not to do it, basically. And the Cardinals won't make that mistake. If they go with that tactic to try and give Love a tough go in his rookie campaign, they will just get eaten alive by McBride. Your running back 2 option. I would go with Cam Skativo. And he is boasting that he is going to rush for 2,000 plus yards this season. And no, I don't buy that at all. He is delusional. And a reason that has only been done 9 times and no one has done it twice. He wasn't getting much work in and then made the starter and was helping reshape that offense. And then the injury happened. He says he is fully recovered and has videos of him doing backflips. So I expect he is actually recovered and able to go, especially time for the season. He is expected to be a workhorse in the backfield for the Giants this year and has been said as much by the coaching staff as well. And when Jackson Dart came in and they were teamed together, it made for a great chain mover. Short throws by Dart and had the power running on the field of Skativo and the agility speed running of the quarterback Dart. Your running back 2 option, Kyren Williams. He had a monster year for himself running the ball for the Rams last year and was clearly the 3-down back, only coming out to catch his breath. Yes, his attempts fell by almost 60 attempts between 2024 and 2025, but his yardage difference was only 47 yards. So much better conversion rate. So he was way more effective with fewer attempts, right? Which makes sense with the duo of Nakua and Adams last year, picking apart secondaries. And again, with defensive upgrades, you should create more offensive plays in the long run this year. So a solid acquisition for consistency anyways, but has a chance to be a big boom upgrade this year. Wide receiver 1 option, Jamar Chase. He is a consistent highlight reel. And then is Joe Burrow going to get hurt this year? Which has been a problem when that happens to hurt Chase's numbers. If history shows anything, it is, yes, Burrow is going to get hurt at some point this season. But they did decide to keep the former old Super Bowl winning quarterback on staff in Joe Flacco, who has seen it all and handled those blitzes better than Burrow did. And I thought played better than he did last year as well. So when Burrow goes down this year, Flacco steps in and Chase's production doesn't get hurt by it this year when that happens. Wide receiver 2 options. A.J. Brown. The move to the Patriots will be great for him. Drake May brought some gunslinging back to the franchise and brought it back without any big-time veterans. Dobbs is solid, who they picked up, but is certainly no wide receiver 1 material, but will give enough dependable solid play to keep defenses honest against Brown, and he is too much of a physical phenom to consistently beat all game long. Given the Eagles' lack of passing the ball the last couple of years, and the trade to the Patriots with May throwing without fear, spells a huge jump for Brown and will probably push him in top 10 wide receiver status for the year, if not top 5. And guess what? He isn't projected very high. Again, that's due to the last couple of years of play, which wasn't utilized very much. So he's going to be a steal. You can get him at the wide receiver 2 numbers. Go for it. Also, wide receiver 2 option, Devontae Adams. Obviously, a workhorse and sees a lot of volume, as he saw just one target shy of 120 targets last year and converted the fewest in his career, as he just had 60 receptions. He's got pretty good hands, which is why he sees a lot of volume. So I expect him to get back in shape, catching a lot, converting a lot more. But he led the entire league in receiving touchdowns with 14, which was 3 more than anyone else had done receiving touchdowns. And this year, continue to expect high volume of targets go his way, and to still be the go-to red zone target for the Rams. He is a solid wide receiver 2 pick, and will produce a lot of wide receiver, and he will outproduce a lot of wide receiver 1s each week. Wide receiver 3 options. Carnell Tate. Yes, he is a rookie, but will be the wide receiver 1 option for the Titans this year. And Cam Ward, the first pick last year in the draft, left a lot to be desired. But he was really set up to fail from the start, and why I pleaded with people last year not to pick him. He had an O-line that just collapsed on him all season long and had nowhere weapons to throw to. Now with Carnell Tate, Wan'Dale Robinson, and Calvin Ridley in the receiving room, should make this year a much more reliable one. And Carnell Tate has big play potential, as he is fast and a big target. While he wasn't a volume monster and just mainly made big plays in college as a wide receiver 1 option, for the Titans this year, expect him to see some serious amount of targets this year. Another wide receiver 3 option for you to pick up, Courtland Sutton. Since Bo Nix, he has gone back to showing he still has it. While he was putting up respectable numbers before him, there was talk that he's just simply done. Too old. Just doesn't have it anymore. But since Bo Nix, he hasn't failed to have a 1K plus receiving season and has averaged about 0.5 touchdowns per game. So a solid wide receiver 3 that often gets overlooked. Your tight end option, Trey McBride. Last 2 years, he has had over 100 receptions per year. And as you know, a reception is guaranteed points, so that is big. And also last 2 years, over 1,000 receiving yards. He did also have a monster year in receiving touchdowns, tying with a couple others for second in receiving touchdowns with 11. This year is going to be his best yet for multiple reasons. With Love being drafted, teams are going to try the Cardinals early by blitzing nonstop to contain Love, which is going to leave it to McBride to make them pay with short receptions over the middle, making them drop back and not stack the box. And that way Love can do his thing. As the run is working, that opens up routes in the passing game. And McBride has proven he is an absolute animal at tight end, setting the reception record for tight ends last year. Now, I do expect his touchdowns to fall back down from the big 11 last year, as they will probably try and give the short yard plays to Love in the red zone, but still expect to be close or surpass last year's number overall, except for touchdown, and he was by far the best tight end in the league last year. Other tight end possibility for your tight end would be Colston Loveland. He didn't get a lot of play early on in the season last year, but was highly touted. He ended the season with 58 receptions and 713 receiving yards and 6 touchdowns. The reason I'm mentioning this, for a tight end, those are just respectable, right? But here's the thing. He's expected to be the tight end 1 option from the beginning of the season this year. And last year, from week 9 to the end, so about 8 weeks, right? Total. He had 47 of those receptions, 597 of those yards, and all of those touchdowns came in the last 8 games of the year. So expect a much better season out of him this year. Your flex players. Kenyon Sadiq. Yes, he is a rookie tight end, but he was the best natural receiving tight end in the draft. And with Geno's accurate passing, this fast, big target, sure-handed tight end should be both a huge third down and red zone prime target for him this year. And he is probably going to fall back since it's widely known he just had hernia surgery. But will be returning to training camp in a couple of weeks, and will certainly be okay by the time the season starts. And also a lot of people try and overlook rookies, since you never know how they are going to transition to the NFL. But he should do just fine in the NFL. Another thing for your flex would be Robert R.J. Harvey Jr. So you might find him listed as Robert Harvey Jr. You might see him listed as R.J. Harvey Jr. as he goes by R.J. But either way, he isn't the running back one, but he gets the job done and sees the field plenty, and is a Swiss Army knife type of back, both running and receiving, whatever the occasion calls for. And between rushing and receiving, had a total combined 12 touchdowns last year. And while isn't running back one, I can see him battling for that position throughout the year this year. Defense, as always, not much gets scored here, as this is for you seasoned players, not you DFS, Daily Fantasy Sports, or best ball players, as they aren't doing defenses this year. I would go Rams. That line penetration this year will be crazy and also cause a lot of opportunities overall on the defense side. Also for defense, the Texans. They have consistently been in the top 5 for fewest points allowed per game in the last 3 years, which, keeping opponents to a low score, guarantees you 3 points, not to mention, any sacks or interception that you may pick up, or fumbles that you may cause. Right? All those things into batting. But you get free points for keeping your opponent to a low score. So, hey, free points are free points, right? So it's a pretty safe bet there. Now, for all of you, go ahead. Don't be afraid to like the video, subscribe. You can do all of that stuff. You can do it below. And you'll be hearing from me probably in a few more weeks, as the NFL season gets underway. Or if anything just big happens in sports in general that I think, okay, it needs to be talked about. And you'll see a video, but more than likely, as the football season starts rolling around, that's when you'll be hearing some more. So you can get those picks, right? Thanks, guys.